during the, so actually, let me fill you in just a little bit. I know that he mentioned that we had those forums over the last couple of weeks. And so we were able to share, and one of the individuals I was able to share was Dr. Brittany Buchanan. And so we wanted to have her have an opportunity to kind of recap some of what she said, just to kind of bring you guys into the discussion and into some of the stories that you guys were here first service too. And so were you. And so were you. You guys are committed. And so were you. Okay, I don't know if that's creepy or no, just kidding. Just playing. It's okay. I'm just teasing. You were saying how your heart was aching as it pertains to the race issue and how the white community within the church, as well as how America has responded according to the racial climate and the tension. Will you share with us a little bit more of your heart as it pertains to that?
Absolutely, and first I want to say that I really appreciated the way that you stepped in during those justice forums as a facilitator, because during the first meeting specifically, a lot of us did have the impulse to get up and prescribe solutions, but I liked the impetus you gave us to pause and focus on just the place of our heartache and our grief. And when you stood up and focused the conversation in that direction, it helped me kind of come into points of clarity within my own heart. And I did notice that I was grieving in two specific areas, and that was, well, it was just a general area of unmet expectations as it related to the white community within the church and also within the nation. With respect to the white community, it just seemed like there was a lot of silence, and the silence, we can get into that later, was hurtful to me. But with respect to the nation, I just had to come into an awareness that I carried a delusion that the Black civil rights movement of the 60s had actually produced something that I would be able to trust in throughout the course of my lifetime. During that course of the most recent manifestations of our nation's issue with racism, I found myself really weeping and mourning the fact that the civil rights movement, although it was a good movement, it was an effective movement. It wasn't a Jesus movement. It wasn't about the gospel of Jesus being preached. It wasn't about the kingdom of heaven invading earth through our surrender. It was about equality. And although I value some of the products of that movement, I understand that everything it accomplishes is going to be temporal, because the only enduring and sustaining justice we'll ever receive must rest on the shoulder of Jesus Christ. So in light of that, I did weep, but I also rejoice because I share the same hope that you do as brothers and sisters in Christ.
So we know that you're a lawyer, and so share with us a little bit, I'm assuming, as that being true, that advocacy is really one of your love languages. How does advocacy allow you to relate to your brothers and sisters?
Absolutely. I tend to not be very candid on social media. I use it kind of to point towards ministry, but that's about it. However, with respect to the recent issues, there was a lot of social media discourse, and I did feel that there were a few things I could say that would be probative and even edifying. So there was a point where a lot of people had contacted me privately, what do you think about this? How do you feel about this? Are you doing okay? And I just began to answer those questions publicly. And I just said, the Lord is sustaining me, He's comforting me, but I do have questions, white community within the church. Do you view me a certain way, maybe less than you, maybe expendable because I'm Black? Do you love me? Do you look at me differently? Do you hate me? I've served the church my entire life, and now that I'm approaching the end of my 20s, I just really wanted to get a verbal affirmation of where we stand, because advocacy is my love language. It's the way I understand love. I don't really know how to recognize or comprehend a love that doesn't speak, because I understand Jesus to be a sympathetic high priest. I understand Him to be moved by compassion. I understand Him to be seated at the right hand of God, even now, advocating and interceding for all of us. So I did have to ask my white brothers and sisters, why are you silent right now? Why aren't you speaking right now? Because Jesus speaks, and I just need the comfort of your voice, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense. So the last question I wanted to ask was that you felt the burden of having some type of preparedness when it comes to the issue of, that we're currently living in our within the church as well as outside of the church. So give me an example, elaborate a little bit more what you mean by that.
Yeah, it took me a while to actually get up and stand in the line to speak during the Justice Forum, because I was very acutely aware of how emotional those conversations can be for me. And the wound was somewhat fresh. And I did feel just like the pressure of tokenism that often arises when you're asked to speak as a representative of a people that you're a part of. And at the end of the day, I'm a Black woman. I grew up in the South. I do have a unique set of experiences that have accompanied that reality, but I can't speak for all Black people. But when I'm asked to, I want to do so with poise, candor, conviction, and consideration for those who are impacted. So that was the burden of preparedness that I felt. However, in that, I also was aware that in my past, because I've had this conversation my entire life, I've been in forums like this my entire life, whatever that means. I felt like I didn't want to invite assumptions of me as an angry Black woman or some hypersensitive, hyper-emotional person that should be discarded. So I didn't want to temper myself, and I feel like there's wisdom in that, but sometimes it can be constraining. So that was what I meant when I said I felt a burden of preparedness. However, in light of that, I was speaking to a sister the other day, and she was kind of weeping, saying, "I'm so sorry for the lack of response from my community." And I said, "Thank you, but I don't want you to ever feel the burden to apologize to me on behalf of all white people when you see me." I was like, any answer that's rooted in love, any answer that's rooted in the gospel is the right answer.
Amen.
Just be bold in love.
Amen. Amen. Well, since she just preached my sermon, I'm going to go home. And I'll see you guys afterwards.
Thanks for having me.